Oh, heavens above, we're on. It's 7 o'clock, it's the 4th of March, and we're here live at Wildlife Aid in my best BBC voice. Hi everybody, hope you're well. We've had a manic week. It's been really busy here. The weather's been vile. My garden is like one big river, and the dogs have now decided, because it's so wet, they can dig huge holes in it. So they're coming in. My golden retrievers are looking like brown retrievers the whole time. It's disgusting. But we're still here, wildlife's ready to go. Really nearly ready to crack into orphan season, so close. We nearly had 2 fox cubs in a few nights ago, but they had vanished by the time the rescuers got there. But any time now, orphan season is going to kick off, and we're going to go into manic mode. We call it silly season here at Wildlife Aid, and we've had silly seasons for 40 years. Sitting next to me is my silly daughter, who is only just over 40 years old. I've been sworn that I won't say too much.
You're going to get killed for that one. You are going to get killed for that.
I've got to be honest. Because I was going to say exactly when we started Wildlife Aid and how old Louisa was, and I thought, no, I better not do that, because that'll give the game away.
I think that horse is bolted, isn't it?
Yeah, they always bolt. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. What's it been like living with Wildlife Aid for 40 years?
What a question. So it's a difficult question, that. It has been put to me before.
I'll have a little sleep, guys.
Can you speak up a bit, Lee?
I can speak up a little bit. I suppose for my sister and I, we didn't really know any different. You know, ducks in the bath, hedgehogs in the airing cupboard, owls on the curtain reels was absolutely and completely normal. So I don't know what the alternative would have been, is the answer.
I would have been so boring if we'd had it the other way around. It would have been, life would have been not worth living. So why not all the animals everywhere?
The earth just moved.
The earth just moved? Let me love.
Abbey just shunted me.
Abbey is here. She doesn't want a camera on herself tonight. So Abbey is here in the darkness. Lawrie is here in the brightness. And Sean, our new team member, is sitting next to Lawrie, holding hands. Here. No, I didn't.
I think if I move this camera, I think I might get slapped. So
there you are.
If you do want to see Sean, let us know in the chat. I'll risk the slap.
We are currently, though, how many? 6 people in an incredibly small room.
Yeah, it's very hot in here.
It will get nice and warm. It'll get up to about the right temperature by the time we finish. So what are we saying? 40 years we've been going. Lots going on. Lou's been actually at Wildlife Aid for the last how many years now?
I don't know.
A lot. It seems like 15? A lifetime to me.
Thank you.
So long time, and I think she's just ready to take over when I go sort of feet upwards and I'm in my coffin. She can just slide into my chair and continue the process onwards. But 40 years is a long time. I mean, we started in the kitchen, as Lou said. We moved from the kitchen to a shed, from the shed to a bigger shed, from a bigger shed back into the house where my office is now. That used to be the entire treatment room and ICU. And then we just grew from there. Never meant to. I mean, it was ever only meant to be a small hobby. Few animals, few patients, a little bit of a nice thing to do. And now we're 40 years on with 375 volunteers, 5 members of staff. 5 members of staff and 4 or 5 subcontractors. We do get the hangers on here. People, you know, they can't afford the food, they can't afford to live, so they all come to Wildlife Aid. We probably got a few volunteers living in the cages for all I know. Who knows after?
We're going to lose them all after this live stream.
No, you're not.
I apologise.
It's been a fun life. It has been interesting. There are ups and downs, obviously, but if you all had a life that was absolutely dead level, it would be very boring. You've got to get the good bits and have the bad bits to make the good bits better. 40 years this year. We're 2 major projects on. We've got the new centre, which everybody should have probably seen by now. It's up on the website. Our dream is to do that. It would seem so easy if everybody in Surrey just gave us £1 once, we could build a new centre.
How many people are there in Surrey?
6 million. So we're there. In fact, over 6 million now, I think. Might not be the case after coronavirus, but there we are. But we won't go into politics.
No, don't talk about
it should be quite easy. It's not going to be that easy. I think if anybody wins a lottery this weekend, please just bung us the odd million. That would really help. Yeah. We need to start it off. We are, however, going to start building the wetlands this year. That is all. We've got a big meeting tomorrow to finalise the contract for the wetlands. It's going to cost about just under £1 million to build the wetlands and the roadways and get the basic infrastructure in place. The reason we're doing the wetlands is for two reasons. One is we need to raise the building platform, so we need some soil to do that with, so that's where the soil's coming out of the wetlands. And secondly, the wetlands will take some few years to mature. So we're hoping that that will all be going on while we raise the money to build the centre. If you know anyone who can help, any corporates, any high net worth individuals, anybody, everything would help. It would be wonderful to get this built within the next 5 years. I'm hoping that that might happen, but I suspect it won't. What do you reckon? Fingers crossed. There's no words for that. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. And we've got obviously our big thing. Lawrie laughed at me because I produced this. I'm ready. It's old-fashioned, Lawrie. We don't have technology. This is in the old days, people, isn't it?
I'm going to blank you out in a minute.
It's an actual title. It's the RI website, which Abbey has been working her little cotton socks up on.
We call her now.
Yeah, Abbey's now called A. working with L. for the good of I. With S. Oh, we'll never mind. It's all going on. We've got, I think we had 618 I today.
No.
It's gone up.
It's gone up. How many have we got now, guys? What's the scores on the doors,
She's
Abbey?
moving fast. Hang on. Pressure.
659.
659. So the principle of the thing is, if everybody does one simple action a day, just one, it will make a difference. Everybody looks at climate change, they look at the terrible situation our seas are in, all the plastic, everything that's going on. You and I cannot make a difference. But collectively, we can. So if everybody in the UK even just did one thing a day, and it could be picking up a bit of litter, it could be all sorts of things, just moving a plastic bottle, planting a little shrub in your garden for the bees, that would be 23 billion actions a year. Now you can't tell me that 23 billion actions would not begin to make a difference. So we've gone out to schools with it. Any schools in this area who want to come and join our pilot scheme, please send us an email. And we'll add you to the list. We've got Crystal Rosen, who's our coordinator to this at the moment, really sort of going around all the schools, telling them what it's all about, giving talks, showing the kids what to do. And it's a complete holistic approach, because you can't just save the animals and the world will be all right. You can't just save the habitat and the world will be all right. You've got to do everything. My favourite thing, which everybody gets so bored with here, is, everybody goes out and they'll adopt an elephant or a tiger or something big. Actually, all those creatures need the lower end of the food chain as well. So there it is, my favourite words in already, food chain.
And IDOT.
And
IDOT came in first.
Both in the first 5
Who
minutes.
had 5 minutes?
we actually have a T-shirt from for Simon in the other room that says his 4 most used words here at the centre, which is IDOT, food chain.
And it's true, but it is true. We need it all to be intact. You've got to save the habitat, save the animals, you've got to make everything right, you've got to make it all clean. So we're hoping IDOT will start to take off. We've got the sort of likes of Greta Thunberg, who's made so much difference. She's highlighted the problems, but now we need to start finding solutions. We need to start finding answers. It's all very well having problems, but the other side of that is finding the answer. So we're going with IDOT. Anybody wants to know more, please send us an email. Please let us know. Have we got any questions yet, Lawrie? Is everybody silent?
We have quite a few. A lot for Lou, actually.
Okay,
so,
I'll go and have a cigarette.
A little-known person called Lou Cowell,
Oh,
who is
no,
our old vet
no.
nurse,
We were going to ban her.
Hi, Lou.
has asked Lou.
I did frantically text her, didn't I?
Lou, what's it been like living with Simon for 40 years?
Well,
Before she answers that question, if she wants to get paid, she'll be very careful. to answer that question.
Amazing. I think we're quite like-minded, aren't we? In a lot of, don't do that. Some support from the team anywhere?
Yes, yes. So Lou is, if you didn't know, Lou is our deputy CEO. So she handles an awful lot of the tasks of running the centre, as well as Simon and the rest of the team.
He is one of the tasks of running the centre.
He definitely is one of the tasks. Babysitting is one of those tasks.
We are quite like-minded, which is why we often, we do spat a bit.
Oh, we do spat.
We
do spat
do
off. We do spat off.
But we're also family, so spats are quickly...
Not that quick. No.
Quickly. I'm trying.
No, it was Lucy Cowell's always stopped the spatting, wasn't it? Lucy used to come down and stand in the middle and part us.
But no, I've grown up, on a serious note, I've grown up with Dad's vision of Wildlife Aid, and my mum also, who went on to become a vet nurse. Everybody in our family is completely animal mad. So I think it's a vocation that is in the blood, I would say. And
it's in the alcohol for me. It's not in the blood. But there we are.
We have to deal with him
Ask
on a daily basis.
Get some questions. If they're to Lou, that's fine. I can have a kip.
Yeah, so a couple of people are asking, what was it like to grow up in the early days of Wildlife Aid with it all just happening in the house? Was it a bit weird, or was it something you were just fairly used to?
Again, it was all of my sisters and my friends at school wanted to come back to our house, and we could never understand why.
Because they had such a lovely father.
That's probably. We, as I say, we had animals distributed all over the house, but to my sister and I, that wasn't a strange thing. To others, pigeons under the dresser, and what do we have? Hedgehogs that was in the airing cupboard in my bedroom that Mum used to come in and feed overnight. We had all manner of creatures in the, as I say, the Arga, the dilapidated Rayburn, in the kitchen. Camping stove, didn't we, with nestlings? Yeah, and we had a young deer that used to run out and greet the cars with the dogs.
We did.
Didn't we?
We had all those sort of things. We got it so wrong in the beginning, but we learned.
But we tried.
We did it. We were very trying. People
Very
are still saying
trying.
trying now, but
He
never
is.
mind. So, an interesting childhood.
It was.
Give us another
Colourful.
question, Lawrie.
Not a very hygienic childhood, if I'm honest.
A couple of people are asking, are you involved in the rescue side of things here, or the animal care side, or is that something that you did previously and now have moved on?
As children, we did a lot, because now we have a team. Is there any way of just shutting him down?
No, I'm unshuttable.
In the early days, certainly, I think Mum had one volunteer helper a day. We now are lucky enough to have about 375. Alice will probably jump in with the correct number. 300 odd amazing volunteers. But certainly early on, it was essentially my mum and your dad, my granddad, doing certainly the lion's share. So Gemma and I would be roped into sort of, I remember tweezer feeding maggots and things to fledglings. I remember pipette feeding young hogs, all sorts, badgers with the baby bottle. Yeah, we all kind of mucked in and did a bit of everything. These days, I'm much more admin based. Although over the years, I've been involved in the odd rescue, but
I learned something quite recently actually, which nobody has ever. I didn't know at the time, but we often got the kids, children, they're free labour. You often ask the kids to do things like clear up the leaves and clear up the grass cuttings and so forth. I learned only very recently that when that was about to happen, they used to go and hide under the stairs. Now I never knew that. Somebody told me that my two daughters used to go and hide if I was about to ask them to do something with the garden. You might deny it, but I think if you put a lie detector test on it, it could be true.
I'm trying to think who would have blown our cover.
I can't tell you that.
With my sister.
I can't tell you that.
Moving on before someone gets lynched.
I might make a note.
We've had a couple of donations that have come in already. So
Thank you.
Mostly Sane, which sort of describes the general atmosphere of Wildlife Aid, has donated £10 and has put, just to get things started, thank you for everything you do. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Lania Lucy, who is a regular on this stream, has donated €5 and has put, need to upgrade server hardware now and can't watch, but want to donate something for the foxes. Thank you very much. Feathered Dragon has donated £5 and has put, keep up the great work. Your work is inspirational and heartwarming. #IDOT, which will appeal to Simon very much.
And appeal to IDOT. I've got another t-shirt that Lawrie had designed for me, but I'm not allowed to talk about it.
And the most recent one is from Wyn, or Wern, W-Y-N, apologies if I butchered that,
Wyn will do
who's donated $19.99 in US dollars and has put, with love from Florida. So I hope your weather is a lot better than ours, because it's very bad here. Couple of questions for both of you, really. What, in your opinion, are the most difficult animals to catch and rehab?
We're not species specific. Every rescue is different. Sometimes it can be impossible to catch a crow. Sometimes it can be impossible to catch a badger. But you never know, to be honest.
Anything with flight is going to pose a problem, isn't it? We get a lot of injured legs, but if they're able to fly...
No, I'm so old nowadays, anything with legs poses a problem.
Yeah, legs, or flight. Otherwise we're fine.
Or jumping over anything poses a problem. I even nearly damaged myself doing a release the other day. I went down a riverbank to release a mother goose and her babies, and the riverbank was very slippery, and I nearly went A over T, which is an English expression. You can all work out what it is.
We have the footage.
Laurie's got the footage. Has got the footage. So yeah, it's always go here. I mean, rescues have been a bit sparse recently because it's been such a grotty winter, and if they don't get busier soon, both Lawrie and I will commit suicide because we hate not doing rescues. I mean, I started WildlifeAid because I love working with the animals. I love doing the rescues. That's the be all and end all to me. Just go to a rescue where the animal's in big trouble or it's going to die if you don't get it, and you do get it, and the releases. And the last few months have been very devoid of all of those things. I even thought of rescuing Lawrie the other day. So I'm so bored.
Yeah, very much so.
I think there should be a bit of a credit here though to our receptionists, because I think in the old days we got called for a lot of rescues that we went to, and
Have we got receptionists now?
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry guys, I know we have.
Our receptionist gives such great advice that often we don't need to intervene, which is actually, joking apart, our preference, isn't it? To leave the animals in the wild if...
In the early days we used to go out to every single call, but we learned, not actually that quickly, but we have learned over the years that, you know, sometimes you can give good advice. And often when you give that good advice, even nowadays, people get really, really cross on the phone, or you don't care, you don't bother, you don't want to come out, blah, 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 blah. But the best call we get is when they ring back 24 hours or 48 hours later, you were absolutely right, so-and-so happened, or we put it back there and that happened. So it's great. I mean, I think our Q&A book, which we give to all receptionists, and I think it's available on our website, isn't it, Lawrie?
We do have FAQs on the
I
website,
think,
yeah.
you know, it does answer so many of the questions, and it did take us years to compile it. I mean, we're still compiling it now, it never stops being compiled. It's a very, very encyclopedic book of what to do, what not to do, and how to do it.
I think it's important, isn't it, if you see something to call your local
Providing it's not in real trouble
rather
in the
than
middle of
rush
the road.
in.
Yeah, if it's in the middle of the road, you've got to rush
That's
in.
probably not ideal.
But if it's not in the middle of the road or something, just, if you've got a second, if you can call, please ring us first because we can advise.
Most recent comment, hey guys, new to your channel, I volunteer at a swan rescue and inspired by your videos, great work and very proud as a Brit, so that's very kind. That's very nice of me.
Keep watching, that's all I can say. Watch and get older and older and wiser. And Lou get more and more of a bully too, really. But there we are.
We have another comment from the Lucy Kells, who's put, Lou, how does it feel to be better at catching ducks than your father?
Wow.
You just made that one up because we know you have
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
Yeah, it's been pre-programmed. It's amazing how these.
It's not pre-programmed. It's not. We were going to bring it up, but Lucy's done it early.
What was the exact wording of the question? Sorry, Lawrie, do you repeat
It was, Lou, how does it feel to be better at catching ducks than your father? Winky face.
Well, magnanimous as I am, I suddenly realised I was about to say a swear word. It feels really good.
Sometimes when children are young, you have to let them think they're caught it, so you have to set it up for them.
Yeah.
So it's like Lawrie on this rescue the other day. I send him out to rescues, and you know I make sure they're all contained and allowed, so they're all safe and you can't miss it.
In my memory,
In your memory,
which isn't always spot on,
and it's not.
to be
It's not much better
fair,
than mine nowadays.
I recall a big lecture on how I should approach this duck, and that you would go first,
Yeah,
lead the way.
yeah. I seem to remember I tripped over the net. I
I
do remember. It's the only time I ever tripped over a net, and it was with my daughter on the rescue.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we even got. Have you got the footage of me tripping over the net? I know we shot it.
We do, but you, just before we came on air, asked me to cut it out.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I might have done that. I've got such a big ego.
Yeah.
No, it was about the only time I ever tripped over a net, and it was highly embarrassing.
It was only a little trip.
In fact, have we done two duck rescues together?
Yeah.
You got the other one as well, didn't you? Or did I get the other one?
I don't remember the other one.
You got one we went in overhead. Amazing how you remember some rescues. We started to fly and we went overhead and brought it down.
The one I remember was the one in the quadrant at the school.
Yeah.
We get this call from this school, don't we, every year? Because the mother lays her eggs in this little quadrant, and then the tragedy being, normally that would be fine, but tragically, the corvids, the crows and such like, come and just pick off the ducklings one by one. so we do try and relocate that one, don't we?
We do a rescue release for those.
We do. We do.
And that was even in the days before we used to catch things in keep nets. That's it's my newest trick, and it works every time. I just love that technique of getting them all at once in a keep net.
How did you come up with that?
I don't, it's just my brilliance. It is just my incredible talent of doing it.
It's
I
modesty.
set that right up.
It's modesty. Modesty has a lot to do with my work.
Modesty. Apologies if any of you have been experiencing sound issues at the moment. We don't have anything on speakers here at all. We can't actually hear what's going on. Abbey does have headphones in, so did pick it up. Unfortunately, it was a slight issue with the two cameras. We've got one here and one on Simon and Lou. Slight issue with the microphones on there, so we've muted mine. So hopefully you can still hear me. But if not, please let us know in the chat and we'll see what we can do.
I'd leave him muted. It's far better muted, to be honest.
I agree, to be honest.
Safer that way.
I value your input.
He speaks too loudly, I can hear him so clearly.
That's Abbey
So
whispering.
I'm still getting out of it.
There's Abbey whispering in the background.
Okay, guys, would you like to see the footage of Lou doing the best duck catch we've had for a long time?
It's up to you.
Wildlife
No,
Aid?
I mean, in fact, it's up to you. A woman's modesty.
I'm easy.
Okay.
Are we going to be watching this footage now that we're not
We
missing?
are.
We are going to be watching it.
3, 2, 1.
Go, Lou.
Got it.
Well done, that girl. I take my hat off to my daughter.
Everything he knows.
Throws everything off. We're all going to be watching it for
And
about
we're back
5
in the
minutes.
room.
Oh, here we
We're
are.
back in the room before you even noticed it had played.
Thank heavens for that. It was just one of Lou's dreams. She had a little dream that she managed to get a duck that I couldn't get. I had a dream. We could go into song.
We could.
We could do Wildlife SOS the musical. Look, there she is. Look at that. Look.
Oh, they're not seeing it though. I think we're just.
Oh, we're just seeing it now.
That's going. That is as.
I mean, I see it
so
all
we're
the time.
slightly delayed here, so we're actually saying things. You're hearing us a bit delayed, so.
Quite a lot delayed, really.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
There's about a 30-40 second delay, unfortunately, but.
The story of my life, that really, especially on rescues nowadays. The animal always gets away before I can get it. Give us some more questions, Mr. Brayley.
We've had another donation from Nigel Grant, who to date has raised well over £10,000 for us here, so that is absolutely incredible. Thank you very much, as always, Nigel. Question-wise, Freya's asked, what do you feed the baby hedgehogs?
Food. I know so many things now. I've learnt that animals need food. Baby hedgehogs are given a very special formula of milk, which is in different strengths. As they get older, the strengths get a bit harder, but it's a bit harder, a bit stronger. And before they wean, we wean them earlier than they wean in the wild, and we put them on to sort of cattle dog food. But when they're very babies, they have a very special formula of milk. Do not feed ever cow's milk to either babies or to adults. In fact, to any animal shouldn't really have cow's milk.
Why is that?
I was going there.
Because the composition of that milk is not acceptable to their digestive systems.
Is there a colostrum issue?
No, colostrum is what they get when they
they're
first
effectively,
start.
they're lactose intolerant, effectively, with hedgehogs. So they end up, if you give them milk, they can't break it down, it gives them horrific diarrhea. They get very dehydrated.
That's the problem with my
unfortunately,
life.
They can pass away quite quickly from that.
Park that right there.
Park that right there. Can I show them my other t-shirt now?
No.
No.
I will show it to you on case eyes, but we'll have
The next
blocks
live
on
stream will be without Simon. You'll be the only one
Excellent!
that doesn't get immediately demonetised.
I get a night off. So yeah, so milk, weaning quickly onto solid stuff and then out into the wild. But we overwinter quite a few hedgehogs. They eat lots of food in the winter. We have to buy about 7 tons of food, believe it or not, for our hedgehogs overwintering.
How many cans do we work out?
We worked out it was 2,000 cans a ton, and we use about up to 7 tons depending on how many hedgehogs we've got. So just imagine the poo. Every time I say this, I've got to find a way of marketing hedgehog poo. We could make a fortune. There we are. Lawrie, on the subject of poo, how are you today?
Resigning. Bye.
Bye. That's it. It's gone.
Leave through this door. I'll be gone.
Sean, you're in. Laurie's gone.
Move the camera over. I'll get that slap.
Seamless.
So Estelle has asked, hi guys, I've grown up watching you rescue wildlife. His question is, what is the most sad rescue that either of you have done?
Well, I can remember that one. Lawrie knows it because I showed him the pictures of it, and he couldn't believe it either. So without showing you the pictures, I suspect.
No, we won't show it.
It was a badger in a garden that had a snare around its neck. A snare, that sounds like stare.
Yeah.
Had a snare around its neck for such a long time that the only bit holding the head to the body was literally the windpipe and the spinal cord, and obviously a few blood vessels. So, you know, the bit attached was no bigger than that. How it was still alive, I have absolutely no idea. It was alive and walking around. It just shows the tenacity of wildlife to hold on to life. It was scary. I mean, I couldn't move quick enough to put it to sleep, to be honest. It was so unbelievable. We do have pictures of it. We've given them to the badger groups, and even the badger groups don't often use them unless it's to their own members, because it is the most horrific sight you ever see. I can still see it. I can shut my eyes and see it now.
I think the worst one that I remember, in fact you were filming it, Luz, and I don't know why, because I just, whether it was something about that particular day or whatever, but we'd gone to that little fox cub in a garden in Cobham, and how young was it? It wasn't young, was it?
I have no idea what you're going to say. So you're on your own.
It was, yeah, this little fox cub, they'd seen it round the end of the garden, they thought it was limping. It'd gone through several gardens, and we followed it into this one particular garden. It was running around. We were about to leave it because it looked so mobile, but when you cornered it, didn't you? And we got up close, and literally half its back leg, wasn't it, Luz?
Yeah.
Was just not there. And I mean, they can live on 3, can't they, in the wild?
They can in the wild.
But it had become so infected, I think,
Yeah,
when we got it back.
Yeah,
when we got it back, our vet thought that the infection was in the bone, wasn't it? But there was just something about when I was in the back of the car with this little cub, and it was just so full of life, bright-eyed, ears up, looking around, and I just saw my dog in its face, in the way it was expressing and so bright, and I guess I thought, you know, anything that bright, we'd be able to get it through somehow. But yeah, in the event we got it back, and it was, I mean, we'd do anything here within reason.
It had septicemia right throughout.
It was riddled, yeah, it was absolutely unsavable. And I just remember standing in the treatment room just really unprofessionally howling, and Lawrie discreetly trying to keep the camera away from my face.
She used to do that when I was given pocket money as well, so it hasn't
It's just
really
not
changed.
true, you just make stuff up.
Changed.
You make stuff up. But yeah, that was, I think, in recent memory, one of the ones that stuck. Some just stick, don't they? Stick in your head.
It's amazing how many you can remember. When I wrote that Al Stream book, you know, I can remember, if I think about it, I can get probably most of the rescues we've ever done, and I can think of the stories on all of them. So anybody
They're all
wants to
different,
buy
aren't they?
the Owl with the Golden Heart, it's
Yeah.
still up. We've got a 10th anniversary edition, haven't we?
Oh, was it 10th?
10th
is,
anniversary
yeah.
edition,
10th.
we have, yeah.
We have.
So it's still for sale.
Special edition.
Yeah,
on the website.
readers of all ages.
Or the Wildlife Aid book, actually written by Lou.
That's the first one.
That's Wildlife
one.
SOS.
Yeah, Wildlife SOS.
But we haven't got any of those left, so you can't buy them.
Oh, we run out.
We've run out.
Sorry.
I think we've got 2 left.
But there's your autobiography.
There's my autobiography, which is the real me, so don't read that, otherwise you'll realise what a total swine I really am. It's very hard not to swear on live television, isn't it? You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
I will pull the plug if you do.
I shan't though. I'm that good. I'm that good. So, chuck some more questions, Lawrie.
So, taking the tone a bit lighter, for both of you, what was your most memorable and happiest rescue?
I've no idea. Everyone that works for me, to be honest, is the answer.
I can think of a few for you. There have been a few deer rescues that we've done that we really didn't think were going to go anywhere, were going to be successful. And Simon has a real stubbornness thing with deer. He will try and try and try and try and try. And it was over the course of well over an hour that he was trying with this deer. Because deer, if they're hit by a car or anything like that, they'll just shut down. For half an hour to an hour, they'll just completely go into shock. And there's 2 outcomes from that. They can either get up and walk off, or they can never get up again. And Simon was trying again and again and again with this deer, and eventually it planted its feet and walked back off in there, and Simon just burst straight into tears. So I think ones like that.
That's because I saw your face, Lawrie. That's probably.
I wasn't even here at that point, so you can't do that one.
I was thinking of him. I had a hallucination that
You've
he was
not
going to
met me
come.
by then.
He was going to come on scene. No, I knew. I had a dream. I had a dream.
I had a dream.
But
That's
that,
another
I
song
think
cue.
some of yours, there are some that get to you that with the amount of effort that goes into them, that get to you
like
a lot
Lucy.
more than other ones.
Lucy with her cuckoo.
Yes.
Lucy,
Yeah.
sum that up. We've talked about that, haven't we, recently on here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Alice has said, by the way, we have lots of Wildlife SOS books left. So I don't know where you're getting that information from. But we've got loads, so buy them all.
I'm getting it from Alice. Alice has been lying to me again.
Can we mention that I wasn't there, but I remember years ago, and I think it was a deer.
Sure you want to mention this?
Mhm.
Okay.
No, it's nice.
I know, but yes, okay, go on, off you go. You get
Doubt
thumped in a
myself
minute, yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Let me just hang
You
on.
have to
Just need to
pre-process
run an internal
before
scan.
you have to run an internal scan to make sure you can say it half the time.
I should note that for life, an internal.
You should, yeah.
No, it was the one where I think it was a deer you released and all the horses came out of to.
Yeah, it's one of the very few. It's weird when you get the classic brilliant rescues. Something happens, and in this case, the camera light died, and then the camera died, and I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up. So we were sitting in the middle of the field, in the dark, and it actually was in the very field which we just bought for the new site. So that's where we were. We were sitting there, and this thing was sitting there. It wouldn't go, and I just know. Sometimes I don't know how I do it. I just get a feeling. I know it can go, and it will go in the end. And this thing was just sitting there. I stood it up. I got behind it to prop it up from the back so it could run off. Nothing. Camera died. Light died. Two horses appeared from behind me, which I had no idea were even there. Came up either side of me, so they passed me, nuzzled the deer on both sides, and all three ran off together. And I was in pieces, guys. Absolutely in pieces. I'm like that if Alice is nasty to me now. Do you notice that? I just go to pieces. I try not to show it, but it's tough.
She's a strong woman.
Strong, yeah, very strong.
Strong woman.
Really hurts strong. Mentally, physically.
Alice basically runs this place.
Verbally strong woman as well.
We're secretly a bit scared of her.
We are, yeah, we're very scared of Alice.
There's no secret about it.
Yeah.
There is no secret about it.
What a backbone.
Yeah. Give us another question before Alice kicks in there or something.
Yeah, I'm just my eyes on the screen here waiting for Alice to come back on that.
Nigel has asked, where will WAF be after another 40 years?
Well, I'll be dead.
Interesting one.
I won't be here. So guys, who knows? Who cares? I'll be having a party
Hopefully
in
it'll
heaven.
be over the road, won't it?
I'll be having a party in heaven. One does hope so,
Heaven,
because
you reckon?
he won't be here. He can't be here
For
when
those
I
of you
go.
who don't know, there is a crematorium over here. It's very dark humour that's coming out here.
I was talking about the new centre.
That's the only reason my kids want
It's
to
not over the road, that's half a mile that way.
It's over the road.
It's over the road. It's the only reason my kids made me buy this house, because they thought they could save so much on funeral expenses just by taking me across the road in a wheelbarrow.
That was your
when
request.
the time comes.
That was
It
your
was
request,
yeah.
going over
Yeah.
in a wheelbarrow,
Absolutely.
and we shall honour it.
Or I want to go in a hearse, but the hearse is not allowed to go under 70 miles an hour. That was my other choice.
Good luck getting up to 70 in the 2 feet.
What about
between
if
the
Oh, I could do
entries.
it.
What about if we tow you in a wheelbarrow from a hearse going 70? Up an Alchemy.
Sometimes I wonder about my sanity. I
There's
just
a progression coming out here.
yeah,
actually.
there's a bit of aggression
practicality.
coming. Yeah. Okay.
Alice has just come back on the chat and said, I bruise like a peach and a delicate flower.
You
Ah,
are.
my bottom.
Don't Vodafone that, Alice.
Yeah.
In terms of the discussion that was just being having, the comment was, Simon won't die, he'll be a brain in a jar, and then we will clone him.
If you can find the brain to put in the jar, good luck, guys. That's all I can say to you.
Be a Bacardi filled jar, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'll be full of Bacardi. As long as you pickle me in Bacardi, I'll be absolutely fine.
Keep it what it's become accustomed to.
Hey?
Your brain pickled with Bacardi. Keep it in the manner to which it's become accustomed.
Why does one have kids? I can never understand it.
So that they
They
can
just
rule
drive you mad. Yeah. What's my expression? Actually, no, I can't say that. I could say that, but I won't. I won't. 'Cause it's a
Moving
bit
on.
expression. Moving on swiftly.
Pernilla
Shall I say
Berg
it?
has just donated
I don't know.
200 Swedish krona, so
Thank
thank
you
you very
so
much.
much.
The comment is 2 love hearts, so thank you very much, that's very
Aw.
kind.
Thank you.
Come and let me do a talk in Sweden. I've never been to Sweden. I want to go to Sweden.
Have
so
you not?
no, I've never been to Sweden. I want to do a talk in Sweden. There's several places in this world I want to go to, and that is one of them. So fill a hall, book me, pay for my flights, and I'll be out there giving a talk. We were always going to do that in Holland, but nobody ever booked a hall. There's only 3 people wanted to see me
The
talk.
series of SOS was really
Yeah, it was
popular, wasn't it?
Holland. It was.
And,
We had lots of Hollandish
I think you'd
people.
be well received.
It's like
Hollandish
Hollandaise.
people.
Hollandaise
people.
Hollandaise
That's
people.
exactly
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And
right.
actually, our old camera lady before I was
Is
here.
Maud here?
No, she's not in the chat at the moment, but she actually moved over to Holland when she left here. She moved over to Holland and then is now in
Canada.
Canada.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
right, Canada.
I thought Canada.
Another donation from a guy we know very well, who's Sven.
It's Sven.
Sven!
We knew Sven. He's
Hey,
here.
Hey
Has
Sven!
donated €200. Thank you so much once again. That is absolutely incredible. And it's part, hi everybody. I know I read your book. I like your frying pan story. How did you manage not to actually fry the birds, as his starts at 80 Celsius? No problem for his purposes. By the way, where do you store your food when the kitchen was occupied by birds?
And we didn't eat. The animals ate. We didn't eat. We got takeaways.
We did.
We did go lunch. Jill was very good at takeaways. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be mean. We had a folder of all the takeaway menus and
I've
everything.
still got it. I've still got my folder of
Brilliant.
takeaway menus.
We did.
In terms of his original story, the frying pan story, for those who haven't read the book,
I'm trying to think.
it's the
The
use
electric
to
frying pan.
use a frying pan on the stove on a very, very, very low heat
No,
to
no, no,
heat
no.
up
No,
nestlings.
No. It's an electric frying
camping
pan.
thing.
Okay.
No, it's the
Oh.
electric frying pan.
Yeah,
You can still buy them. It's an electric
Oh.
frying pan. You turn the thing and it.
on a very low heat.
It's
It
just
was
not-
used as an incubator, basically.
It was.
Incubator?
An
It's just
incubator.
not incubator. You just don't shut the lid.
No, it also was. It's an electric one. It wasn't the. Go on.
We didn't have a camping stove.
My daughter, she's gone now. My she's got a more fertile imagination than I've
I'm
got.
creative.
She makes it up as she goes along. She's just like a partner.
Apple doesn't fall too far, does it?
No.
Before we get family disagreements in this live stream,
Have we been quite...
Mr. Tovan has asked, what is the most unusual wild animal that you've rescued?
You had the
I've
snake,
had,
didn't you?
I've had pythons. I've had iguanas. I've had all sorts of things that people won't go out.
We got called out to a toucan. Would anyone like to share that
Oh
story?
no, it's so bad. It takes that entire hour to do the toucan.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so a guy rings up. He thinks he's on Headley Common. He's seen a toucan in a tree. Rings up in a high state of panic. He's got his binoculars on it. He's not quite sure what's going on.
He's got
but
his dog Chester with him as well.
Okay, he's got his dog Chester with it. Long story short, this toucan, he suddenly went, oh, hang on, guy. Oh, it's a magpie with a crisp packet in its beak. So the toucan turned out to be a magpie with a crisp packet in its beak. That's the story. It doesn't do well in translation, but it was very
It was
funny
very
at the
funny.
time.
We've also been called out to rescue a swan that was hit by a car and was lying on the side of the road that turned out to be a plastic bag.
Yeah.
That we've several times, I should
Yeah.
think. That
Yeah,
one.
and several other similar cases in that. A lot of times we've turned up and said animal has never been there. And we once got called out to a bird, I think it was a bird, trapped in a house that turned out to be a fire alarm with a low battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And not the first again.
I had two
yeah,
of those
that
as well.
happens quite a lot.
I think the most shocking actual animal was you're putting your hand down the compressor of the fridge thinking probably something relatively tame and pulling it. How big was it? It was a big,
It was a big python.
8-foot python.
Yeah, big
yeah,
python.
proper big python.
I just talked to it. It was fine. I did talk to it. I
He's
told it to go in
definitely
that sack.
afraid of snakes.
Terrifying.
If you look at the footage, the
Pythons
cameraman
are
is
fun.
actually constantly making jokes to try and scare him.
I'm scared of snakes that bite me and can kill me. As I
Well,
was in
that's-
Australia, I spend a lot of time being very
It's
scared of
relatively
that.
sane though, isn't it?
No, python's fine. Python's fine as long as there's more than, what is it, one person every 2 feet if you've got a big python, just in
Is it,
case
so
it
it
decides
doesn't
to constrict.
Mm.
If it constricts, you're in a bit of trouble. So I always let Lawrie go for the end that's going to constrict first.
Sensible.
So
They
that
must be
was working.
strong.
I need life
They're
insurance.
very strong. They are very strong creatures. Anyway, come on, let's have some more questions, Lawrie.
Lou, what's your favourite wild animal?
Oh my goodness, my dog.
Oh, God.
He's pretty
He is
so
wild.
unwild. He's obese.
Oh wow.
He's
No.
old.
He used to be, he's not anymore. He was a rescue
I hope
dog
he's
and
not
Lou's done
watching
an
this.
awfully good job with him. So.
He's done an awfully good job with me. No, what's my favourite? I don't. Boring. I don't know that I have a favourite. I don't know why I'm
Are you
looking
going
at
to pull the
to
Simon
answer.
all animals we've bought him?
Well,
We
it's
all know his
tricky.
favourite animal is a badger or a
It's
wolf.
tricky. I do have my.
Or
I
a
said this
seal.
to you the other day. Phobias. They know here that I'm terrified of RATS, which isn't to say I dislike them. I absolutely don't wish any of them harm, and if they're brought in, I want them treated and all the rest of it. But I am slightly phobic, childhood nightmare styly.
It was slightly odd
phobic.
that her sister Gemma had a pet RAT.
And I
we
didn't
can't say the
know.
word. We can't say
They
it.
didn't.
We didn't know. And one day we lost it down the back of the settee,
So
and Lou came in.
I've come downstairs, as you do, and just saw 3 bottoms, yours, Mum's and Gemma's, foraging around behind the sofa in the living room, like, what's up, guys? Nothing, nothing. And yeah, unbeknownst to me, my sister, 2 doors across the hallway, had a pet rat for like 5 years.
You said the word.
I
then.
did say the word, and
You
it made me
said the
shudder.
word.
It actually made myself
It
shudder.
was a very cute little rat.
That.
Oh, you said it now.
Yeah. So no, I don't think I do have a favourite. I mean,
But it wouldn't be a rat, would
No,
it?
don't
No.
keep doing it. I'm having nightmares tonight.
Okay, that's not my
I'm not
problem.
coming in tomorrow.
Just,
I'll be too traumatised.
just cuddle Charlie. He'll be fine.
Yeah. No, everyone loves the cute ones, the youngsters. It's special, isn't it? During the spring, having the cubs.
Yeah, it
Gorgeous.
is. No, it is.
Any day now. We've actually got a
It will
sweepstake
be.
on when the first cub is going to be in.
I was trying to, when is it usually? It's what, mid?
It really
Any
depends.
time now.
It's usually within the first couple of weeks of March, where we are now.
Yeah.
But last year it was the end of February, the 26th of February, I believe.
Does
And
it-
before that, we actually had a really early one. So it could be any day. We know other centres have had both fox cubs and badger cubs. So it's just a case of when the first one appears here.
The feeling is that it would probably be sooner than later because it's been quite mild.
But we had our first songbird this year way early, about
Yeah.
2 months early. 2 months early, guys. That's just absurd.
We've had a young blackbird, a young robin,
Yeah.
And a young duckling
That's
already in,
insane.
all of which are incredible.
And last year we got ducklings into the centre in, it was either late November or early December, which I mean, things are just breeding all the year round now. Insanity
Unfortunately.
rules. IDOT, hang on, off we go again. Just don't forget, guys, do your IDOT today. Do yours today. Britain needs you.
Very low-tech alternative to sticking it on the screen right there. Questions. So, Mega Tweet, who I like very much, and you'll see why in a minute, has put, shout out to Lawrie, you're really good at conducting these live feeds. Thank you
are,
very, very
Lawrie.
much.
You're brilliant.
You don't realise I'm actually terrified, my heart is going at 10 to the dozen. I really don't do being on camera.
At least you've got one.
And what was your last photography expedition? So, my last one was actually to go and find shorted owls last weekend, which should be repeated potentially this weekend. Going out to find shorted owls, and before that it was seals in Norfolk, both of which were very, very
And
enjoyable.
you went to, is it Scone? Is that what it's called?
No,
which
he
one?
went up
Shetland.
to Shetland.
No, before that.
Finland?
No, he's never been to Scotland.
Has he not?
I've been to Scone. I've been to
A
Scone
long
a couple
time
of
ago.
times.
That's a long time
Several years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Scone is fantastic for puffins, seals, things like Manx shearwaters, all that lot. If you're ever in that area, do head over. End of June, July is probably your best bet. You got all the nesting behaviour. But around this time of year, it's more seals, owls, a lot of things like that before the orphans really start to pick up. A couple of people have asked, do you think lynx should be reintroduced to the UK?
Leave that one to you.
Oh dear, I did write a letter to the papers last week about that. It was suggested that lynx should be brought back to the UK. It would be lovely. I mean, it would be beautiful to see all these animals which we got rid of, drove them to extinction, come back. But what people seem to forget is the climate they're coming back to, the environment they're coming back to, is so irreparably changed that they would just never survive. I mean, there's so many reasons. People would shoot them, people would be scared, they haven't got the habitat anyway. So I think we should spend our time really protecting what we've got rather than trying to introduce something which is coming into what would be an alien habitat to it now. Not enough habitat, and an alien habitat of that. And you can imagine, you know, rather like foxes, if they have to leave their natural habitat and start scavenging in gardens, imagine some sort of lady or child walking down the garden at 7 o'clock at night and a lynx comes herring past. They're scared of people, I quite agree, but if one was cornered like any wild animal, if you corner it, it's going to fight. So, you know, that going in somebody's back garden, personally I'd love to see it. It'd be absolutely great. But I just don't think we should be wasting ridiculous energy doing things which are now impossible. If not impossible, highly improbable and ludicrous.
We're having enough trouble with non-indigenous species at the moment, aren't we?
We've got enough of what we've got, yeah. I mean, most species in this country are non-indigenous, to be honest. If you go back, even the hedgehog was non-indigenous.
And the little owl, there's loads.
So many of them. The red squirrel was non-indigenous. And now we've got this massive problem with grey squirrels, which we have to euthanize grey squirrels. It's sad. I think what people don't understand is that DEFRA haven't said you have to euthanize them, but you've got to keep them in captivity for the rest of their lives, which is totally against our ethos. No animal should be kept captive. No wild animal should be kept captive. It's rather like you and I living our lives out in a telephone box for the rest of it. It's absurd. Not only that, if you did keep them captive and you can never release them, they live for well over 10 years and you just wouldn't have the cage space. We'd have no cages left for any of the patients that come in every year. So our only choice is to euthanize. We're trying to tell people not to bring grey squirrels into us because we don't want that horrible responsibility. But if they do bring it in, it will break our hearts and the vet team are going to be in pieces, let alone Alice, I have to say, because Lou gets very cross when I say yes. So it's a tragedy. We're still trying to get it reversed. We've got a crowdfunding thing up at the moment, trying to raise money with our lawyers. We've got our lawyers looking into anything they can find to see if we can get this law changed or reversed, or at least get wildlife hospitals licensed to still take in the very small number they take in and release them back to the wild.
Alice, hopefully you're popping up a link.
Alice will
doing that right now.
Alice will be popping up a link. But if you think about it, these licences for wildlife hospitals, there was about 700 licences issued per year. Well, that's 700 squirrels, which is those 700 aren't going to be very happy about it. But more importantly, it's less than 0.02% of the population of grey squirrels of 2.5 million at the moment. So it makes no difference. I mean, not our 700, but the wildlife hospitals of the UK, 700 animals, get real DEFRA. It's insignificant and it's going to cause huge heartbreak to all the wildlife hospitals that up to date have been able to do something about it. These squirrels normally come in because somebody's chopped a tree down, which they shouldn't be that time of year, or they've fallen out of a tree in a gale. And as we say with our Q&A book, if you do find squirrels on the ground that have just come out on the ground, pop them into a box very near where they were found, and 9 times out of 10 the mum will come back for them. If you just leave them quietly, pop them in a box with a hot water bottle at the bottom, with towels on top of that or blanket on top of that so they don't get too hot, and just walk away, guys, because 9 times out of 10 mum will come back and get them, and then she can take them to a safe haven and they haven't had to come into hospital. So just an extra tip, but it is heartbreaking for us and it's going to be very unpleasant, I can promise you.
It's also worth, I think, adding that the you can keep them in captivity rule is also licensed, and you're only licensed to keep a very small number of animals in captivity. So once that runs out, you're stuck in the same situation, unfortunately.
What's sad is man's constant interference. We keep intervening, don't we? What's happened has happened. Let's deal with and care for what we have, rather than keep on changing the rules, moving things around, making it worse, and leaving, a lot of pieces to be picked up.
Let's have a few less people and a few more animals.
Wow.
There we are.
Can't be a bad thing.
Too many people, too many houses, less roads, less habitat. We're just progressing out of all bounds now. I mean, Attenborough's talking about it, everybody's talking about it. Sadly, there are a lot of people on this planet and we just cannot keep housing them.
So, moving on from that one, if you do want to donate to our legal challenge to this ruling, there is a link in the comments. If you can't find it, please scroll back, and I'm sure Alice will keep posting that over the next couple of minutes, just so you know that it's there.
Next couple of minutes, next couple of hours at least.
And going to a couple of donations, so Laura has donated $8 Canadian and has put, "Love following you here in Canada, thank you very much." And Scottish Astronomer, who is another regular on this channel, and is going to make me run a mile once I finish reading this comment, has put, "What is the biggest difference a new centre will make? PS, wildlife rescue is definitely still harder than rocket science." And remember that she is qualified to say that because she works for the European Space Agency, the ESA. And PPS, Lawrie, I'm female, not male. Apparently I keep referring to her as male, which is something that
Lawrie has that
notorious for doing wrong. I do apologise. I think I need to reverse what I immediately think, and I'll probably be right most of the time. I'm not going to disappear off camera this time.
Yeah, Lawrie can be very counterintuitive. Dangerous thing. Thank you for everything there, guys. Really, really generous. And yes, Canada's another place I want to go. I want to see sea otters. I really want to see sea otters, although I was reading an article about them the other day and they're not very friendly things. I always thought they'd like a nice little tickle on the tummy, but apparently not. Rather like our otters in the UK. Give them a little tickle on the tummy.
But I wouldn't want to rescue one.
Yeah.
Nathaniel has asked, foxes have recently made a den in my garden and I have a Rottweiler. Should I be worried?
It's that time of year they're going to have young. So I would think the young could be in danger. A fox isn't going to win against a Rottweiler, but the Rottweiler could cause a lot of damage to the fox. Very difficult in this instance. If it's got a den in your garden and it's only very new, maybe you try to discourage them not to stay in your garden, though obviously this is right on breeding, on producing season, not even breeding season now, then a breeding season, having season. So you do need to be really, really careful. Whether you can fence that area off so everything's all right. I mean, the dogs aren't going to like the foxes there, the foxes aren't going to like the dogs there. Too many people, but difficult one. I don't know quite how to answer that at the moment. I need to know a bit more about the layout of the garden and all sorts of things to be able to give you a sensible answer, to be honest.
So give us a call at the centre. The best thing, isn't it?
Unless we're not entirely sure where you are, if that's going to be very expensive because you're
drop
abroad.
Drop us an email at the centre.
Please drop us an email. Just use mail@wildlifeaid.org.uk and that should come through. Mode is actually in the chat as well, saying please come to
Mode! Let's tell us a joke. Tell us a joke.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking.
Right, so
it's a big surprise.
Mode out of context.
It was an in-house joke without any doubt.
It was.
And Mode's expressions and the way she says them just made it
No
complete.
one tells a joke like you, Mode.
A new comment. Grey squirrels visit their backyard, but they won't eat the chestnuts put out. Often see them eating peanut butter on crackers that another neighbour puts out. Should they be offended?
They shouldn't be offended, but please suggest to your neighbour that you put out natural foods, not things that they can't get in the wild. It's far better for an animal to have what it has, and everybody gets really upset when I say don't feed the wildlife and don't make it too regular. But you know, if you move away, if you, God help us, if you die or something happens, those animals suddenly have food supply eradicated in one go, and if they've been so used to it for so long, they're going to be a bit slow at hunting. Only feed a wild animal if it really is in trouble and it just needs a bit of a boost to get it better. So sorry guys for all you people who do it. I'm guilty sometimes as well, but try not to do it if you can avoid it.
A couple of people have asked, can we talk about our Amazon wish list?
I can't because I know nothing about it apart from the fact we have one, so over to Lou. And Lou can do a little bit.
Alice!
And Alice will be answering on the line.
So, yes. For those of you who are not quite sure, we do have an Amazon wish list that we do keep updated quite regularly.
I've posted a couple of times, I'll do it again.
Oh, cool, thank you. Abby's just going to post the link in the chat. That is regularly updated by our vets for items that we really, really need.
Am I supposed to put Bacardi on that as well?
No.
Or not?
We did have Bacardi on there as a joke for a long time, but strange enough, nobody
bought it. You
No,
rotten
no one bought
lot.
it.
Oh, don't-
People care
don't
more about
encourage
baby
him.
foxes and hedgehogs than your inebriation.
Funny that.
India's asked, how often do you rescue wild rabbits?
Oh, I mean, quite a few times to be honest. I think we had one in the other day, to be honest.
We did, didn't we,
Yeah,
Abbey?
we did.
We had one in the other day. So yeah, again, you know, if it's a young rabbit, then obviously just make sure it really needs rescuing. It's not going to hop back in its little bunny hole at some point in the near future. Abby's laughing at. Why is Abby laughing? It's my bunny hole, Abby. Don't laugh at my bunny hole.
It's
It's a bunny hole. They're not big enough to know the word Warren. They haven't been to school yet. Jolly good show.
This man is our CEO.
Yeah. You know what that stands for? I can't say that here either. Give us another question, Lawrie, before it all gets out of hand.
Just to say back to rabbits,
what?
they're really hard to rear, aren't they? We actually have
Yeah,
a
we have a specialist.
We have a specialist.
We have little Angela,
What's
Angela
her
Warren.
Angela Rabbit Hole.
She is actually called Angela Warren. It's the
Warren.
best name ever.
Angela
But yeah,
Bunny
she's
Hole.
our specialist care. It's probably tempting for people to
Try
try
to
and do
do it
it
at
at home. Don't.
Special milk again, not milk you can get hold of. It's a special sort of milk.
It's interesting. That brings us into our next question, which is how often do you find that the person who's called you out doesn't want to give up the animal and wants to raise it themselves?
Luckily not to. It does happen. I would say percentage, actually thank heavens for us, it's not very often it does happen.
No,
It's in the single numbers, I would say, without any doubt. And you can normally explain to most sensible people.
I think once they understand, generally they're fairly good about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise they never leave the centre alive. And that's the people, not the animals.
The most dangerous thing with people doing it by themselves is that the animals becoming imprinted, isn't it? We work really hard here. We've got CCTV cameras all over the show, so we interfere as little as possible. Animals becoming imprinted is really dangerous for the animals.
Life-threatening, one can say, quite honestly.
Quite.
Several comments that have put Angela is the bunny queen, and
She
Angela
is.
Warren in the chat has put I'm
Oh!
here. So thank you once again for everything you do for
Hi,
our rabbits,
Angela.
Angela.
You shouldn't be here, you should be feeding the baby bunnies. What are you doing? Watching television, girl?
Before you alienate another volunteer, Sven has asked, how do you decide which rescues you film and which you don't?
The answer is within reason. Oh no, I'll let Lawrie answer. I'll sit back.
It really
he always
depends.
gets it wrong.
We try and film the vast majority of things that come in, especially things that we can build stories around. Occasionally, something will come in and we won't have a particular story to it, or it will be the same as something that's happened recently, so that will tend to let go. But we try and film as much as possible, but at the moment the filming, the editing, all of our social media, the website, iDot, that's all managed by Abbey, myself, and now Sean, who's just sat over here and he's going to slap me in a minute. So it really depends on time. We do try and film as much as possible, but it really depends what we can get to. I think you'd agree with that one?
That's near enough for me, Lawrie. I fell asleep halfway through that explanation. It was so long.
Okay, I'll give you Simon's answer. It's because Lawrie is lazy. There you go.
Lawrie films everything in soft focus. Though he hasn't done my
and kettles.
my best.
Do we want to go to your puffin photo?
No, the best one was without doubt the heron rescue that we did, and I was filming it as well as doing it, and I spent ages focusing on this heron right the other side of the garden, only to find out that I was focusing on a grey stone, which was highly embarrassing. So one had to wipe the footage very quickly before I got back to the centre. But never mind.
The best one we've had, we actually had several years ago. We had an albino squirrel in. And when that was released, Simon said, don't worry, I used to film all of these things, I'll take the camera, you take some stills, because the press were quite interested in it at the time. So we were there, we released it, it went off really, really nicely. Simon was following it, came back and went, I've got a really good shot of that, really good shot. And then about 2 seconds later, he just stopped. I didn't press record. He hadn't recorded the entire thing. So we couldn't use it at all. We've got the stills of it, but we don't have any footage of the release.
Well, he's just taken the most enormous pay cut. Lawrie will earn nothing for the next 6 months.
I'm going to be paying him from now on.
So he should. He should do, for the privilege of working here.
You better make sure you always press record though, Lawrie.
It has happened.
It has forgotten.
Forgetting to turn mic packs on. You've left mic packs on Styles before.
No, it fell
It
off.
does happen.
Children.
It fell off.
Children. Lawrie, give us a
That's
question.
what I have a crew for.
Let me look through. Keep your questions coming in, guys. We are currently trying to flick through. Angela said she's actually in between rabbit feeds. So she's using her time to
Her downtime.
watch us guys, so I apologise for
That's
that.
dedication.
We've got a donation from Ulu's donated €10,
Thank you.
and Rose has donated £10. So thank you to
Thank
both
you
of you.
both.
That's absolutely vital for keeping us going. We receive absolutely no government funding, so the only reason we can keep doing what we do, as I'm sure these guys will agree, is thanks to the generosity of people like you. So thank you.
So, and the other thing we've got going on, we've got a guy called Liam Hull, who is shortly going to be running the Brighton Marathon for us.
Yeah.
That's obviously with coronavirus, whether it might be cancelled, which who knows. It's quite a few weeks to go yet, but if he does run, I think we've got a donation page up for him somewhere on our social media.
He's got his own Just Giving
He's got
page.
his
I
own
think.
Just Giving page.
We'll
so.
post the link to that in the chat if you wanted to go and support Liam. Liam, 2.5 years ago, actually suffered quite a nasty accident and was left struggling to walk. So I think within 2.5 years, not only overcoming that, but running a marathon and donating all of that money to help us is an incredibly noble thing. So thank you very much,
well
Liam, if
said,
you are
Ross.
watching.
Liam, let me just say that if the Brighton Marathon is cancelled and you've managed to raise £6 million, I will personally follow you on the entire route, filming you doing the Brighton Marathon all by yourself. come wind, rain, hell or high water.
Will you press
But
record?
thanks very much. I don't need to press record because I've got a cameraman.
To be honest, most things at the moment are filmed by Abbey.
A dot.
Yeah.
Hey Dot.
You tend to drag me in front of the camera just to stand there with a net while you do the work. Another donation from Pushbike Cam, who is also a regular on this channel. Donated £5 and she's put, hello Simon, hugs and thank you for the birthday card, love it, you should make a game for Xbox. We would love to. Simon has wanted to make a game for many, many years. Unfortunately, prices for things like that go into the several hundred thousands, if not more.
Anybody who's a game programmer, come on to us. We've actually just had a most amazing offer. In fact, it's happening. A guy came down to see us. His wife was watching the live chat.
Last live stream, so
And
this time a month ago.
he got bullied by her to come down. He came all the way from Wales. He came down and we were chatting about it, and he sort of was playing around on his lap, said, I will build you the app for iDot at the most insignificant price, really very, very tiny. It's
Incredible.
about half Laurie's pay for the year, so it's a very small amount. But Kevin, thank you for that. Thank you so much for doing that, and we look forward to getting it as and when you have time to finish it. That'd be great. But we still need games. I would love some games. I'd love to do some virtual reality. That'd be brilliant. But that's even more expensive. But all these sort of things with the technology we have nowadays, it'd be really great to get it out for kids. And with iDot, if we can keep them amused by showing them things like that and give them the app for their phone for iDot, that will all be amazing. So to everybody who does help us, thank you. To anybody who thinks we don't need the help, please give us a call, because we probably do. And it won't be long before we start asking for help for Zimmer frames, I suspect, but there we are.
Lucy says, can we upload videos to iDot? So we're actually working on a load of videos for iDot at the moment. We will be making a second channel for iDot where we will upload videos to that with the same frequency that we do on the main channel, hopefully. That should be coming out fairly soon, so hopefully a load of you will subscribe to that channel when that goes out. But then, yes, if you do have videos of iDots and want to feature on that one, we will more than happily take the footage in and put it out on there as well.
If they load, when you load your iDot up, you can actually load videos and images, so you can subscribe and load them up yourself.
Okay.
Too.
Cool.
So we've got iDot.
Make sure you check out the website, which Simon is going to put on screen.
Here we are.
I'm not going to do it.
It's
That's
upside down, but there it is, the right way up.
So make sure you sign up for that one and get posting your iDots. They are going up massively. At the moment, we've got two actions a day for a year is the current total, and we're aiming to get to 23 billion is our final goal. That's
Small
when Simon
leap.
will celebrate. This is a small leap, but
If we
we're
get
hoping to get there.
If we get to 1 million, I should be quite excited.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just it'll be iDot working on a VDot for iDot. So there's an awful lot of stuff going on here at the moment, guys. It's all
Lots
dots
of
everywhere.
dots.
Lots
Lots
of
of
dots.
Schlichtertoven has asked how.
Wow.
What? I can speak German. How do you avoid getting sick from all the scratches and bites you get from wild animals, and do we have to get rabies shots?
We do have rabies shots here at the centre for people who work with bats. We have never known a case of a wild rabid bat in the UK. There was one chap in a university or a lab got bitten once, and I think he died, didn't he, actually?
Yeah.
Serves him right for not wearing gloves.
Wow.
But
He doesn't mean that.
it doesn't, you know, it hasn't come into the UK yet at all. We, you know, basically, if you do get scratched by any wild animal, just give your hands a real thorough wash, as we were saying for coronavirus at the moment. Wash your hands regularly. Give them a good scrub if you've actually got an open wound. We very seldom get hurt by anything that's going to infect us, to be honest. I can't remember many times, and I think, you know, because I was working on farms since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, you get so immune to everything, to be honest. I think you get an awful lot before you start to go down with it. But if you ever are bitten by anything and you're worried and it gets sort of a bit angry and red, then obviously go to your doctor and just get it checked out just in case.
An up-to-date tetanus.
Yeah.
Up-to-date
All
tetanus
of our
will come.
volunteers and staff here do have to have an up-to-date tetanus and a couple of other basic.
They only have tetanus because they come in close proximity to me, don't they, really?
You're a rusty nail, Simon.
The proverbial rusty nail.
But our vets and a lot of our rescue team as well do have rabies jabs just in case. It doesn't give you full immunity, it gives you a bit more time should that ever happen. And there haven't been, a lot of the bats we deal with are pipistrelles, and there haven't been any cases of pipstros with rabies in the UK since records began, but just in case we do have that in place. Another donation from the Warren on another account has donated €50 and has put, this is actually the Warren on another account, love from the Netherlands.
Thank you very much, Netherlands.
Back. A couple of people saying, trying to donate through the YouTube but no success, tell me how. So in the bottom corner of the chat there should be a little $sign. That will allow you to do a super chat, which is what I'm reading out. If that doesn't work and you'd still like to donate, if you head over to our website there is a donate button on there and you can make a donation by card or PayPal or anything like that. Alice will find any way possible to take your money. So we will find some way if you are
if you're struggling, send us a mail and we'll sort it out, even if you have to come and collect it in person.
Members of the team are tapping their watches at us.
Are they?
Mm.
Yeah. We're currently on 8:05, so we're about
5 past 8. We're overtime. Do I get overtime for this?
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you just
ask.
We don't lock you in your cage for another 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, if we can just get the last couple of minutes now, guys. So if you do have questions, please get them in. We'll try and get them answered. But we will going off probably about 10 past, so 4 minutes. So please get your questions in.
What should we talk about for 4 minutes?
Well, you seem to manage to fill up most of the hour. I mean, it's always the way. I've said very little this week, really.
Question for Lou. Have you always wanted to work with animals?
I've always wanted to be around animals, without a doubt. I can't imagine my life without animals in it. I do have a sort of a bit of a musical.
She has just done a couple of albums. Very talented. Has got an album. Needs a deal.
I have done music in the past, but yeah, come back to roost.
Well, the Save Harry song is Lou's. That's it's still on the website, I think, isn't it? Our Save Harry little animated video. Is that still there, guys?
Yeah, that's
everyone's tapping.
If you put in Saving Harry,
WildlifeAid
Saving Harry onto YouTube, you should get that. It's an animation, a stop frame animation that was made several years ago.
We've got actual Harry.
We do
in the
actually
other room.
still have the little Harry. It's sat behind Lou's desk.
The path is not clear enough for me to access little Harry.
Yeah, it's about this big. It's quite cute. We'll bring it on to the next slide.
We will.
Julian has asked, do you have a waiting list of volunteers to be part of your team?
No, we always need volunteers. There is a application form on the website. There's a training program to go through. It's not onerous, so you don't have to know anything when you come. I've been doing it for 40 years and I know nothing, so that works for me.
There are so many different avenues for volunteers as well. It's not, we can do the animal care, the reception if you don't want to be involved in the animal care, fundraising, administrative.
We need a new media team. Transport. That's why Lawrie will need a new media team next week.
But also, there are so many ways people can help, like you said about the app guy, aren't there?
Yeah, the app guy.
Don't underestimate your talents. We'll make use for them.
Or even just have a coffee morning. I mean, just one coffee morning or a dinner party, anything to raise us funds. I mean, it costs us over 400,000 quid a year to run this place. So imagine when we get to 20 acres, which will be the new Wildlife Aid Centre.
It's the working name. The actual name is the Wildlife Aid Centre. He just keeps.
I keep changing it, but I mean that's going to be at least 3 times of the running cost for here. But it will be a far more of an educational unit. So, any corporates who want to help educate children and teach them what they've got to do to protect this planet for the future, better late than never. That's all I can say.
Talk to us. Come on, talk to us.
India has asked, you guys have found wildlife in some pretty crazy places throughout the years, such as the fox on the bank roof. What's the craziest location you've ever had to rescue an animal from?
I have no idea. There's so many crazy locations. I just cannot begin to add them all up. It'd be
lots of
an hour
foxes
itself.
on roofs, and we've no idea how they got there.
Probably
it takes us quite a long time to even get onto the roof, let alone a fox managing to get it.
Still the most dramatic though being Laurie's 70-foot tree ascent, I should think.
I'm playing that down
Stop
now,
bringing that up.
because he gets too much glory.
50-foot tree ascent.
You get
20
30 foot, yeah. It's a hedge, really. Just climb up the top of a hedge, you've got this swan
Just
out.
use a really wide lens.
No, I mean, there's been so many. It's an hour talking that alone, to be honest.
And then it seems quite a good one to wrap up. For everyone here, how did you go about finding your calling in wildlife rehab? A question for everyone here.
Okay, well, I'll go first because I was bored. I wanted something to do. Lou can go second.
I was born here.
Born here.
We've got interesting answers already.
Lawrie can go next.
I've always been interested in wildlife. Was very into wildlife photography and all that lot. Do a bit of that on the side.
Bits. He's won awards. Big awards.
Stop praising him up.
When I was at uni, my partner actually was volunteering here, and she sort of introduced me to the centre, and I started volunteering here ad hoc. And unfortunately, Simon then put the manacle on me, and I've not been able to leave.
That's about right, isn't it?
Abbey next.
I started volunteering.
Started volunteering.
Yeah.
Love the thought of working for me.
Yeah.
And Sean, last of all, Sean. Just
You're gonna hear
arrived.
Sean's voice.
Our newbie.
I grew up watching a lot of natural history
You've just got
programs.
to, Sean, you're going to have to shove your head in front of the camera for 2 seconds now. You're going to have to
Say
stand
hello,
next to
Sean.
Lawrie and say hello, everybody. Say hello, everybody. I'm here.
Hi, Sean.
Hi everyone. Okay. Yeah, I grew up watching a lot of natural history programs, and I was just fascinated. So yeah, making it a job is.
And you're a local gal.
I am a local gal, 10 minutes down the
Local
road,
gal.
born and bred.
Great taste in biscuits, so we've allowed her to stay.
Cool. Well, what you don't see is just to my right there is enough tea and biscuits to fuel an army for several months. We should also say that this is actually Abbey in my office, not Simon's, so it's us that are
Technically.
responsible for the food supplies.
Cool. I reckon we're just about there, Lawrie, don't you?
Yeah, I think
reckon
so.
we've gone over our allotted 1 hour.
Yeah, just one more donation from Nathaniel, who's donated £10 and has
Thanks,
put,
Nathaniel.
love your work, so appreciated and so inspiring, which is a lovely
Thanks,
note to end
dude.
on.
And I'd just like to say, before we sign off, to all those people with teeth missing, it'll get better soon. Don't use super glue, go to a dentist.
That seems kind of random.
It's very random. It is targeted at one particular person.
It is targeted. One
That person will know, but if you're not that person, as 99% of us aren't, we have no idea what he's talking about. So I
seldom
think
do.
it's one of those moments where we just need to end it now and get his sanity checked.
So what do we say? And it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Lou, and goodbye from Lawrie, and goodbye from Abbey, and goodbye from Sean. Bye bye.